So, hello guys. Kindly confirm you can hear me.
Yes, you can.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So we'll be starting in the next. We'll start in the next 2 minutes. Yeah. Others, welcome to today's class. Today's class is a bit unique because we are doing it on Telegram. Yeah. 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 So we'll be starting in the next 2 minutes. We'll give the rest around 2 minutes to join, so that we can officially start. Okay. I think our 2 minutes are over. Yeah. So welcome to today's class. Today we'll be learning on fundamentals of not fundamentals, but we'll be learning on building applications using Motoko language on ICP. And without any further waste of time, I'd like to invite today's teacher. Is it speaker? Yeah, I think it's teacher. Yeah. So our tutor today is Emmanuel Hagai. He's a very skilled developer, and also he's our winner for the Mega Hackathon. Yeah, but I think he'll explain more about himself and what he's done in the ecosystem. Yeah. So Emmanuel, the is it the floor? The microphone is yours. Yeah.
Hello, hi guys. So my name is, like Steve said, my name is Emmanuel. Oh, it's the first time streaming on Telegram, so this is new. And I'll be taking you through Motoko. Hello, can you hear me? Steve, can you confirm that you can hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Let me just find a way to share my screen. Okay, so today I will be taking you through Motoko, and I plan it to be a very session. Hello, can you see my screen currently?
Yes, you can see it.
Yeah, so it's going to be a very practical session today. Just a few theory for introduction. Then we start with the practical part. So, okay, before I start, can I get maybe a confirmation? I need to know if maybe I should start from. Let me close this. Have you guys already installed DFX already? Or
Yeah, I
should I?
think the people that are in the call have installed it.
Yeah,
But
okay,
you
majority.
can just explain. them. Yeah.
Majority have
Just for
already
the-
installed the effects.
Just for the sake of maybe recording,
Yeah.
and also later references, maybe you can just start from there.
All right. Okay. Okay, so let me just give a brief introduction, then we can start from the exact beginning, from installing the effects, setting up the environment to everything. Okay, so this tutorial maybe will focus mainly on Motoko. And Motoko is the programming language that has been designed specifically for the Internet Computer Protocol. Okay, so let's get started. So before you start using Motoko, the first thing that you'll need to do, you'll need to make sure that you have installed the effects and its dependencies. So let me just take you through the first part. All right, so the first thing you'll need to make sure that you'll need to install the effects and its dependencies. The first thing that you'll need to do, for me personally, I've already installed the effects, but I'll just take you through the whole process, and I'll insert some links whereby it can guide you through the whole step. So the first thing you'll need to do is something like you'll make sure that you've installed the first dependency clang, and which you'll just install using the command sudo apt install clang. So for me personally, I've already installed everything, but basically you need to install Clang, then you'll need to install something called Build Essentials. This one, I'm assuming it's a new computer, it has nothing in it. These are just the basic dependencies. You need to install Build Essentials, and this Build Essentials package, basically it will contain the MEC, the GCC, the G++, and the C compiler, which will be used in the backend. So you'll install Build Essential using the command sudo apt install. So I'll try just to be as fast as possible since we have only 1 hour. So after installing Build Essential, you'll need to install something called libssl, which is basically the secure socket layer toolkit development files. And you'll install it using the command sudo apt all right. So the next thing that you'll need to install, NVM. And to install NVM, you'll install first something called, to install Node.js, you'll install something called I'll call you back later. To install Node.js, you'll install something called NVM, which basically means it's the Node version manager. And using NVM, you'll use NVM to install Node.js. Steve, hello.
Yes.
Can you
Yes.
maybe it seems all very repetitive and kind of boring. I like to go straight to the effects. Can you maybe just send a document that installs this whole process? Or is someone installing along with me?
No, just go straight into the effects. Yeah, because ideally, we have previous recordings and we'll be recording this session, so someone can just come and recap.
Yeah,
Just go
plus
straight into
there was
the
a certain document that had all the instruction. So
Yeah, I'm sending it.
I'll just jump to installing the effects. I'm assuming that you've already installed Node.js, all the dependencies, and you've already installed the effects. So the first thing, you'll confirm that the effects is installed, the effects, and you'll see that here it's already installed. And to manage the versions, you can use something called the effects VM. And you can see the versions that already are currently existing. And to change the version, you can just say, let's say the effects Yeah, so that's how basically you can change the version if maybe you prefer or a certain version is not working correctly. Like in the decade course, I saw some people complaining that some versions were not working correctly. So in this way, you can handle multiple versions. Okay, so let's get started. So to create a project, to create a Motoko project, the first thing that you'll need to do, you'll use the command, let's say dfx new. Let's say the project you want to call it, let's say Motoko tutorial. Motoko. Let's just use the. Hello, Steve?
Yes, Emmanuel, you can hear you.
Yeah, you can see clearly what I'm saying, the terminal.
Yes, we can also see a screen. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Emmanuel, sorry, can you please maximize your screen? Is it possible?
Pardon?
To maximize your screen.
To maximize the screen. Okay, what about right now? Is it okay?
That's better. Yeah, thank you.
Also, sorry for interruption, Manu. Maybe you can just upgrade the effects because you have upgraded to 15, and the new versions, you have a selection whereby you can choose on Motoko, Rust, and everything.
All right, I'll do that. Okay, yeah, in the old version, this one, it will basically just come with Motoko by default. But I'm going to change to upgrade it to a later version. Let's just give it a second to finish installing. All right, so after the project is created, yeah, with the latest version, the DFX 0.17, basically you'll be given, it's much more easy. You'll be given the choice to choose between Motoko, but since I'm using Motoko, whichever is okay for now. But basically, all right, let's DFX VM. Let's upgrade to, let's say DFX 18. Default. All right, so after installing the effects, due to time I'll just continue, but basically after installing the effects you'll need to switch to change the directory to the project folder, and our project folder is this one here, Motoko Tut, short for Motoko tutorial. Motoko. So let me open it via VS Code. So in the project folder, in the source folder is whereby your project file will exist, and there will be two folders here. After clicking on the source folder, let me just expand this one. The first one is the Motoko Tut backend, which will basically contain the code to your backend code, and the default one is basically a query function, a function called greet. And then the next one, the front end here in the source, it will basically contain the source code for your front end canister. So here basically for me, I'm just going to do something. Let's say, let me use an example. Let's create a sample project. We just create a simple front end, a simple back end. All right, so I'll just navigate to the front end canister here. And so basically I'm going to clear this one, and we are going to just create a very simple project. So to make things go faster, I'll decide for now to use the Bootstrap library so that I don't have to write everything from scratch. Because you only have 1 hour, I can create like a whole front-end UI in less than 10 minutes. So we are going to create a simple front-end, a simple website, and then you're going to create another simple backend function. Then you're going to link everything, and we're going to add the internet identity for authentication in both. All right, so while it's loading, we've downloaded the Bootstrap library, which we are going to import the files here. Has anyone here ever worked with Bootstrap or heard about it? Or is it something completely new?
Personally, I've heard about it and I've used it.
All right, that's good. Okay, so it's basically just a simple library that it's like it enables you to create the UI without having to write the complex long CSS files. So I'm just going to rename this one to Bootstrap. So I'm just going to add the library to our front-end canister. I'm just using this short method because we have only 1 hour and I'd like to be done with everything as fast as possible. Okay, so after adding Bootstrap, the first thing we are going to do is just basically add the CSS and the JavaScript files. And to add the CSS, we are just going to use the normal way, just like the basic HTML, whereby we just add a link tag and we specify that the type is oh my goodness. And you specify the type is text slash. Then you specify that it's because in DFX, when deploying your canister, these types are very important. You need to be very specific, otherwise it won't render. If you're including a CSS, you need to specify specifically that this one is a CSS file. It's a type, a CSS type file. So in the rel, we'll just write the style sheet, and then in the href, this is just normal HTML. You're not doing anything fancy for now. So then you're going to include our Bootstrap CSS, and thanks to VS Code, you're going to all right. So after adding the CSS file, we are going to the title will name it something like simple Motoko tutorial. Simple Motoko full stack tutorial. All right, then we are going to add the JavaScript file at the end. And to add the JavaScript file, as again, this one is just normal, just the normal HTML. We are doing nothing fancy. We're just going to use the script tag. And then you're going to specify the source, and you specify that the source you add the main JavaScript file. So after that, we are going to, the first thing in our front-end canister, we are going to add, here we are just working on a simple front-end canister. We're going to add just a normal Bootstrap navigation bar. Again, this why I'm using Bootstrap, because it's just going to, we are going to use a shortcut. But if we had time, we'll use the long way. So we are going to add a simple navigation bar. And we can preview how our front-end canister will look like. I'm just basically trying to open it from the browser. Yeah, let's style it a little bit. So here, let's make it dark. Let's make it primary. These are just simple Bootstrap commands, and it's why we are using it, because it's, instead of writing the whole CSS, you just have to modify the class alone, and it's done. All right, so our header looks good. Now let's just create a simple body tag and be done. So in the body section, basically, we're going to create, I'm going to use just image commands, and we are going to create a container. And in this div container, we are going to create a custom wrapper file. And I'll specify this one. Let me just first create a small CSS file. Just call it main.css. All right. So in this wrapper here, we are going to put our content, and I'm just going to put something like, let's say, the first one, an ID which will say, like, let's say, not logged in, and it will have a class, or let's say raw. And this ID, we are just going to add something. We are going to divide it into two for content. And I'm just going to use a Bootstrap class. Which I'll replicate it, so that this basically means that we are dividing the screen into half. And we are using this one because we want to create a responsive application very fast, in that when someone is viewing the application on the desktop, they can see it well. When someone is viewing it on an iPad or their phone, it can just adjust, it's responsive. So then you are going to add another class. Here we are just going to create a small header. Let's say a h1 file. And we'll say something like a simple Motoko tutorial. All right, and then in the next section, this one will be the one the user will see when they're not logged in. Then we'll create another another one when they are logged in. We'll just create like a simple paragraph. This again is just simple HTML. I'm not doing anything fancy. So let's just say, hey, you are not yet logged in. And then here in the end we can, yeah, I think this is okay. In the second section you can just add something like an image. Let's make it responsive. This again is just another Bootstrap class. So instead of having to design everything in your CSS, you just add the class and you're done, everything less than a second. So here I'm going to use one of the image in and draw. Let's get an image that will, when you're not logged in, just let's download this one. And another one, let's say a success one, after someone has authenticated using their internet identity. Let's call it something like success. Let's use this one. I'm just using a random image for now. The downloads will call this one success, and this one will call it home. Okay, let's add these images to our project folder. And then let's add it here. Our image here will add the home.png. All right, let's see how it looks like. Yeah, slightly better. Let's just beautify it just a little bit. First of all, we need to add our custom CSS file. Main.css, this one here that I created here. And then we just want to style this one a little bit, this wrapper, because the content here is a little bit disorganized. So let's just style it a little bit, the wrapper class. We're just basically going to copy this one, and then just this one again is just normal CSS. Just going to create a wrapper. We're going to give it a margin, let's say 50 pixels outer. Then we're going to make it rounded. The edges are going to be just a little bit rounded. We'll give it 650 pixels. Then padding, let's give it another 50 pixel again. Just add a little decoration to it at the edges. Again, this is just normal CSS. Let's specify the color ICP. You can just put here something random, but let me use my favorite color, the one that I like using. Yeah, this is better. Now let's create just the last one after the user is logged in already. So here the user is not logged in. We'll just copy this one and modify it a little bit. And here we call it logged in. You can say something like here you are logged in. This again is just this last part here. You are logged in. And here we can use the image that we downloaded the just a few minutes ago. Yeah, after someone is logged in, this is what they will see. Now let's build a simple backend. So just a little information about Motoko. So Motoko uses something called an actor model. Hi, can you hear me, Steve?
Yes, loud and clear. You're okay.
Okay, thank you. So Motoko uses something called an actor model, where basically this actor is basically, it encapsulates basically a representation of your canister. So you basically create, say, an actor, you can give it a name, let's say Motoko, or you can just not give it a name. And then inside your actor is where all your project functions will go. So since here we want just to create something simple and link it to the front end, let me just give a brief a brief information on Motoko, and I will teach you how you can learn more information about Motoko. So basically in Motoko, to create a function, use something called a func keyword, func, and you can create something like, oh, it's 7:36. Let me just give this information and move on quick. So when creating a function, it will be just like other languages. You can give it, let's say, a variable, a parameter, and then you can specify the kind of parameter that the function will use. After that, you'll need to specify the return parameter, and then specify that it will be returning, let's say, let's make it to. Oh yeah, we haven't included an int at the top. All right. So in this tutorial, actually, basically what I'm going to do, we are going to create something very simple. It's going to basically be this website, this front-end website, and when the user they can log in using their internet identity, and they are shown this function. So let me just use an example of the function that we'll be using. So the function that we'll be using will be getting the principal of the user. And first, like you saw in the previous era, if you're going to use something, let's say an integer, a principal, anything, you'll need to import it at the top. You need to import, let's say we want a function that will return the principal of the person that called the function, and we are going to call it from the front end. So we'll import the principal. So importing is just a simple, you just specify the name, then you say Motoko, and you're going to import from the base, and you're going to import principal. All right. Yeah, so we'll need to use it in our code. So let's create just a simple function that returns a principal, just like a two-word function, a two-line function, something very simple. So we'll create the function, let's say it will call, like I specified two to define a function, you'll use the function, and then you can call it, let's say, who am I, and then in this function it's going to return by the Motoko functions. Let me just finish, then I'll explain everything due to time. Going to return the principal, and then here basically before we start everything we'll need to make it public, a public function, and then it will need to be shared because we want the function to be called from anywhere on the internet computer. And then basically we'll add something called a message object. This one is just a special object in Motoko which you can use for authentication. So you'll create the message object, and then here in the function we are going basically to return message. This one is from the message object. We are just like JavaScript. We are going to return the caller. And so basically, like I said, this message, it's a special object in the internet computer, and we are going to return the caller, basically who is calling the function, and what it will return will be in the form of the principal of the person that is calling the function. Is anyone lost from where we are right now? Or if anyone has a question? All right, so we've created a simple front end, we have created a simple backend function. Now we need to link both of them. First, before we link them, let's add something called, let's add the internet identity. And to add the internet identity, we are going to use to pull the internet identity canister to our project. And we are going to basically, as you can see here in this dfx.json here, this one is the backend canister, this one is the front-end canister, and we want to add the internet identity canister. So basically, we are going to add let me just copy paste this one here already due to time. Okay, while it's loading, so here we are basically going to call internet identity. Forgive the errors, it will just, since you're editing, it will show the errors, but after we are done, everything will be okay. So internet identity. And since we are going to pull it, we'll specify that the type is pull. And then here we are going to specify the address, the ID. Again, if you're lost, just don't worry. If you later after this class, you can just come and ask me a specific question and I'll guide you through everything. And here we'll basically need to put the address of the internet identity canister. And I'm just going to copy paste this one. All right, so we've added the internet identity canister to our project. So what we are going to do now, we are going to pull it now. When to pull it, we'll use a command called dfx depth pull. After pulling it, we are going to initialize the internet identity canister, and we'll use the command. Let me just copy it since I don't want to type everything from scratch. We'll use the command dfx depth, initialize the internet identity, and specify the argument that it's null since it's the first time. We are just initializing it. DFX depth pool. All right. Let's pull it again. Okay, so we have an issue with the DFX identity, the DFX version. Let's just change the version a little bit first before you can proceed. DFX version VM. It's just saying that the pool, the internet identity is not the same one. It has been modified a little bit. So DFX list, let's see the version. Let's use 17. DFX. All right. Let's pull it again. Okay, then let's initialize it. Fantastic, now it works. So the next thing, after initializing the DFX identity, after pulling the DFX, the canister, we'll need to use something called Definity Out Client. And this basically, we'll use it in the front end JavaScript to call the backend canister. And so we'll just use npm install. Or let me just copy paste it since it's faster than typing to save time. So yeah. All right, it's 7:45. Let's just give it a few minutes to install. Fantastic. Now that it's installed, we'll need to go to our front end so that we can set up a way to call our backend and authenticate everything. So here in the front end, we'll open our JavaScript file. It's 7:46. Let me just copy paste everything and then I can explain line by line what is happening in the interest of time. Okay, so everything that I'm redoing again, I already did it like 30 minutes ago, like about 1 hour ago, and posted it to my GitHub. Though I'm just showing the how exactly I did it, what procedure I used. Yeah, about 1 hour ago. So I'm just going to take our front and then I'll explain line by line what everything is doing and how it's doing everything. Yeah, you see this one was the one that we imported just currently. So let's copy it and then I'll just explain what everything is doing. So basically here in the first part, we are importing the create actor and the Motoko tuts backend, which is basically our backend here. And this create actor, will use it to create an actor that we can use to interact with our internet identity. Then the next part, we are importing the out client. And the out client is basically, we are importing the out client class from the Definity out client library. And basically this one we'll use it to authenticate, let's say when someone is logging in or signing in using their internet identity. So let me just go. And basically that's exactly what we're doing here. We are just using we are trying to create an actor using this create actor function. And then if it fails, we will use the Motoko tuts backend as our default actor. And basically here, the next part we are creating an event listener, and basically we will listen to the login button. If let's first create by the a login button. Let's go to our main index.html. Let's create here in the here. We can create a button. We can call it login. Basically, this one is what we'll be using to log into the internet identity, and we'll call it, we'll give it the ID of login. Let's just style it a little bit, and we'll just use the default bootstrap classes primary. And then here after someone is logged in, we'll just basically create a logout button. Logout button. Let's give it a class info. So basically this function here is going to capture the event. Let's say here, like here, it's the login button on click. When the login button is clicked, basically we are going to initialize the authentication via the internet identity service. And if it's online, we are going to use this one. And if it's in the local, we are going to use this one. As you saw, this is the exact same ID that we used when importing the internet identity canister in the dfx.json here. So we're just using it so that when you are moving from local to on-chain, you just have to send dfx deploy and you say network IC, as simple as that. So let's see how the button look like currently. All right, so a login button. It's fantastic. Then here, basically, we are going to create this is the button that is going to interface with this, our backend function here. Yeah, let's add that one too, by the way. Let's go to our HTML frontend. Before logout, we can create, let's say, another button. And say, let's say, ID is equals to who, let's see, which one did you use exactly? Yeah, we used 2mi. This one basically is going to say, what is my principal? Fantastic. And when you get the principal, let's just create another div here. And let's give it an ID, let's say an ID of principal, so that, oh my goodness, when someone clicks this button, it queries the backend canister and displays the principal in this div element here. All right. Okay. Everything looks good. In the initial, it will be, of course, the login will be hidden. Oh, and this function is basically when the page loads, it's going to check if you're already logged in. If you're already logged in, it's going to do the logged in logic. It's going to repeat it again so that, let's say when you refresh the page, you don't need to have to authenticate with the internet identity already. The application just knows automatically that you're logged in. And everything that you're doing is being facilitated by the library that we included just a few minutes ago, the one that we solved via npm. And here basically we are creating an event listener for the logout button. Let me just run everything and then I can show you practically what I've been doing. Let's first move this one to our assets. Yeah, by the way, I used an old version. So in the old version, all your project assets needs to be moved to the asset folder. So I'll just drag it there. Yeah, they need to be there. All right. So let's deploy our code so that I can explain what was happening via a graphical user interface. So dfx start dash dash background. So this is just the normal way to start dfx because we want to deploy it in our local directory. If time allows, I'll also show you how to deploy it in the mainnet, just not locally, so that it can be available from any device, pushing it online. Right, then let's dfx deploy it. Okay, so while it's loading, for people who are wondering about, let me just give it a few minutes first. I mean, my aim is just to show you like how you can create a simple backend, a simple front end, and how you can link everything together. Then after you've understood this simple part, it's simple but a little bit complicated. I can show you how you can learn more Motoko functions, so that all you have to do is just learn more about Motoko, improve on your CSS or JavaScript or HTML skills, and you're done. Because I feel like the most important part is knowing how to integrate all of it into one. Once it will be complicated at first, but once you learn it, it's just one process and you're done. It will be a repetitive process. You'll be doing the exact same thing over and over again. So if it's complicated at first, don't worry. All right. We have 3 minutes left. Let's just give it a few minutes to deploy. Okay, it's almost done. All right, so our canister is done deploying. Let me just open it in the browser. I'll just copy this link. Oh, first of all, since we are deploying locally, we need to deploy also our internet identity canister. And since we use the pool, we are going to use dfx deps deploy. Yeah, so it's deploying our internet identity canister too. All right, so that's done. It seems deploying dfx and stream is really taxing my simple computer. But let's just give it a few minutes. Okay, so yeah, this is the simple dApp that we've just created. Oh, I forgot to move the images to the asset directory. So basically, you'll click login, and you can see you'll be redirected whereby you log in using the internet identity. So this one is an internet identity canister, a local one. So at first, you need to create a new internet identity. So you'll just click on create new. I'm assuming everyone here has already interacted with NNS and creating an internet identity. It's just basically the same process. All right, so just click continue. Yeah, and you'll see that you are logged in successfully with your internet identity. And when you click on this button, what is my principal? And you can see that it will display to you your principal. So basically what's happening, like I showed, oh my goodness. Steve, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You've been clear all the time.
Okay, thank you. My computer. Okay, so basically, as you can see, we've created a simple front end, a simple backend. Let me just dfx stop first before we can continue. All right. So yeah, this one you're supposed to move it to the asset canister too. And it wasn't showing. All right. So here I've shown you how we've created a simple backend, which is just a simple function that is basically telling you the principle of whoever is calling the function. And then we've created a way to interact with the backend canister. And basically, as you can see here, when you click the Who Am I button here, it basically went and queried the Who Am I function from the actor that we imported. As you can see here, we imported the actor from our backend. So we basically queried, we called the function, the Who Am I function from the front end. And after we received the results, we displayed the results in a div class called principal. And that's why you will see here your principal is and the principal value. Your principal is and the principal value. That's how we've done it. Okay, so due to time, I'll just have to end it here. And I can tell this was a little bit more complex for 1 hour, but if you have any questions, just reach out and I'll try to write as many documentation as possible of what I did and what I made through. But this is just, if let's say someone told you you have 1 hour to build something, this the way I will do it. Okay, thank you for your time. Any questions?
Do we have any questions before we end the session?
Anywhere you didn't understand?
Sorry, Manu, you can just proceed.
I was just inquiring about any place you didn't understand somewhere that I need, let's say, to create a detailed video to explain more about what was happening. Since I had only 1 hour, I've been trying to move as fast as possible. Okay, is there any question? Anyone with a question?
Yeah, I don't think there are any questions.
All right.
Can I say something?
Is there anyone talking?
Yes, I'm talking.
I don't know.
I'm sorry, yes, I know that. I'm Nicholas.
Okay.
Yes, I have a question. I didn't get anything about backend.
You're on the backend? All right.
Yes. Hapo imenikata off tu, imeenda mbio.
Oh, imeenda mbio.
Kama kumekuwa na that part.
Would you like me to repeat, maybe explain what's happening?
It's okay.
Okay, so basically this one is the backend. And in Motoko canister, use something called an actor model, whereby you say something, you use the actor keyword to specify that this is where your smart contract starts, and you put every function that will be in your canister in it. So this basically, it's the smart contract. It's the actor. It's autonomous and it's self-state. So let me just say, so here we've started our smart contract, our canister smart contract called actor, and with this one is the first function, the default function called the greet function, and this one, the one that we've called, is called the who am I function. In Motoko, to describe a function, you'll to call it, let's say to define a function, you'll use the func keyword. In other languages, maybe it's called function, let's say function add. In Motoko, it's func, func, just short for function. And then here, basically, you are specifying that you want the function to be public. Basically, you're saying that you want the function to be called from outside the actor, like another actor can call the function. So you need to specify that you want your function to be public, because in Motoko, if you don't specify that a function is public, it will be private by default. Then here, this message, this shared message, we are basically, this message is It's just a default object in Motoko, whereby you can use it to find, if you want to find out, let's say, who called this function. And in Motoko, the identity of everyone is called a principal. So basically, you'll include the message, and then in the function, you'll use something called message, the message object, like in JavaScript, message.caller, and it will return, as you can see this format here, the one that you've been highlighted by VS Code. This will be the format. It will be the caller, and it will return a principal. So basically, that's what we've done. But I think I should go more in depth on Motoko and give, let's say, like I think I jumped to the back, to the deep end. We'll organize another tutorial just basically focused on simple Motoko, just simple function like creating a variable, creating just simple Motoko without worrying about the front end, the back end, internet identity, and everything. Steve, can we organize that?
Yes, we'll organize it maybe the session after next week, because next week we might be doing a different session.
Yeah, that's okay.
Because of time. Yeah, sorry, Manuel, but I'd like to cut you short because of time.
Yeah, it's
I'm so
okay.
sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah,
It's
I
okay.
don't know whether Tevin has anything else, anything to say before we end the call.
No, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for the session, Emmanuel. It was really insightful.
Okay,
Awesome,
thank you.
awesome, nice. Yeah. So thank you, guys. We'll share the recording once it's ready, and have a blessed night. Yeah.
Good night.